What's up, everybody? Welcome to the bye-week edition of the Real Talk Ravens podcast. We are joined this episode by the famous Palmer Grigsby, Mr. Redbeard himself.
Famous. I like the sound of that.
Hey, he's been an LJ fan since day one, since before we were even LJ fans. So
before he's even a twinkle in y'all's eye.
As promised. So we've got a lot to cover this week, a lot of different topics that we're going to be covering that we don't necessarily get to cover throughout the season. But what we would like to start off with is some mid-season superlatives. It's technically like 70% of the way through the season, though, since we've got such a late bye week. But we're going to go ahead and get started with that. And the first superlative we're going to start with is the biggest surprise player for this season. I guess I'll go ahead and get it started. My biggest surprise is Brandon Stephens. Brandon Stephens, before the season, almost all of us were like not really sure if he's even going to make the roster and let alone be a starter. Now he's a starter in a Pro Bowl caliber corner, locked down.
Oh, yeah.
You all know, well, of course, the people probably listening don't know, I have never been a fan of Brandon Stephens.
No, he's
I've
not.
always given him reason. And this year, I am super shocked. I don't think anyone would have said Brandon Stephens is going to be arguably the best corner on our team. Like, he's been a huge surprise. So that's a good pick.
Let's be honest, he has been the best corner because he's been healthy every week and he's been locked down when he's been playing. So,
he gave up one touchdown and he gave up one touchdown in garbage time.
Yeah, against Jamar Chase. So it's like,
oh well, So yeah, that's a good one. I'm going to go on the same breath here, so we have an offense. And do you want to give your offensive surprise as well, Tyler?
I just was going with biggest surprise overall, offense or defense. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm going to go on the same wavelength as you in secondary. I'm going to go Geno Stone. Eric DeCosta signed Geno Stone last January to a 1-year deal for like $780,000, like under $1 million. And no one thought he would start, barring injury. And I don't think his mama would even have guessed that he would be leading the league in interceptions.
It's close.
Geno Stone for me has like been a huge surprise, and he's someone we will definitely talk about later. But like for me, like he's huge. He's been absolutely huge.
For me, I'm going to stay on the same side of the ball. I'm not really – I could say Keaton Mitchell, but I feel like we all knew he was good when he made the 53-man roster as an undrafted rookie. I'm going to go ahead and say Jadeveon Clowney. Now, he's been the talk of the town this last week because he performed so well against the Chargers and just in recent weeks. But let's be honest, it's been happening all year. Let's not forget he joined us really late in the training camp portion of the year. I think it was either right before training camp or like in the middle of training camp when he joined us. He had a really bad end to last season. And to be honest, he's never really been the guy that he's been promoted to be out of college until now. We've seen flashes, but I think this is probably the first or second time he's put together a consistent, strong season in the NFL. And it shows that there's something about playing defense in Baltimore that just unlocks something in you. Because I can guarantee you that most of these guys on other teams that we just brought up probably wouldn't be playing, or if they were, wouldn't be playing very much. And when they were playing, probably wouldn't be balling out. So credit.
That's good. That's a very good point. Very
yeah,
point.
Like we're winning games with like second string safety, second string cornerback. We had half the year where like all of our outside linebackers were on a rotation of being hurt. So like it's been a really good next man up defense. These last 2 years have really helped us. It also helps that we have the best defensive coordinator in the league, but these guys are playing for each other, and that's something I love to see. There are guys we didn't even mention, Matabike, who isn't really a surprise to me, but yeah. So, like, basically my point being, these guys are the shining stones in an amazing defense, and it just speaks a lot to the mentality in Baltimore.
100%.
All right. Next superlative is the biggest disappointment. On the other side of the biggest surprise, the biggest disappointment, there's a few players that I think we can all agree on. There's definitely one in particular that I think is the easy pick, but I don't want to choose the easy pick here. For me, I'm going to go J.K. Dobbins. All right. First game of the season, injured, out for season, after he's already coming off an injury. I mean, this guy is like glass. He's Mr. Glass. For season-ending injuries, it's not like he's out for a couple weeks here and there. He's out long-term injuries.
I have a feeling he'll pull a Cam Akers. We make the Super Bowl, he'll surprise everyone and show up.
No shot. Not at his position.
I don't. Honestly, I wouldn't want him if he was.
No.
I would not want it. If he was if he showed up in the bus, I'd be like, I mean, you can come, but you ain't gonna put you're not suiting up. But that's just me. So anyway, so you're JK. JK is a good one. I mean, especially with all the off-season kind of drama surrounding JK. And then it was, you hate for it to be like I told you so. But Eric DaCosta had the perfect, this is why we didn't sign you to a long-term deal, dude. So yeah, I agree. JK is a disappointment. I'm going to go, and I'm going to kind of stick on the same breath on injury train. I'm going David Ajabo. Ajabo was a second-round pick. When we were all thinking wide receiver or something more along those lines, we picked Ajabo. He was a bargain because he would have gone early first. And he was a guy that held out. I don't know if a lot of you guys remember that, but he held out, and he was the last rookie to sign of the entire draft class. Of the entire, not just the Ravens draft class, but of the entire NFL. He was the very last rookie to sign because he felt like he was entitled to the first-round compensation. And now, I was at the Colts game where he was suited up, and then you get the alert on your phone that he's not playing. And then it's okay, well, you're thinking, well, it's something minor. And it's no, he's out again for the whole season. And Harbaugh, what did Harbaugh just say the other day? That he's having, ACL surgery?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's you've had 2 ACL surgeries. I'm not sure if it's the same leg or if it's the different leg. But either way,
an Achilles, wasn't it?
Was it Achilles or ACL?
He tore his Achilles at the pro day, I think, right?
Yes.
Because if it was twice for the same ACL, I'd be like, your career's over.
Well, I can tell you, just like JK, because JK tore his ACL and now tore his Achilles in the same leg, that it definitely affects that leg that you tear, whichever one on it weakens because you're compensating. So
yeah, so it's
another way. That's a key factor.
Probably is 230-ish, 240-ish, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, another guy that's just you're a second-round pick, and you seem to be kind of made of glass. It's not his fault, but it's disappointing nonetheless.
I could go after the low-hanging fruit, but I feel like
someone's got to.
I've already scathed. I'm just going to say his name, but this is not my person. I've already scathed Ronnie Stanley on this podcast before. So I'm going to go with something a little different. My biggest disappointment this year on the Baltimore Ravens is Justin Tucker. I am tired of hearing excuses as to why he can't make these kicks. Just make the effing kick. I get it. But we've had him for, 10 years, and things like this have never been a problem. Yeah, he's had a kick blocked every once in a while. That's not his fault. But the fact that he just keeps straight up missing, they rushed him onto the field. Great. Half the kickers in the league get rushed onto the field to make a kick, including Justin Tucker in the past. I'm tired of the excuses. I just want to see. I don't know if he's in his head or because the strength is still there. When you see him kick live, I've been to, I think, what was it? Yeah, one game this year. Palmer, when you see him kicking and warming up, he seems fine. I don't know if it's just something mental in the game or if he's getting confused by something going on. I mean, this is his first year with a new long snapper, isn't it? That could have something to do with it. But it's
when they replay those kicks, it never looks like it's an operations problem.
No,
so, they look clean as a whistle.
And I get that maybe it's just different, but at the same time, he's missing big kicks, and it's not who expected him to miss a 44-yarder against the Chargers and ice the game? Who expected him to only have made one of 4 50-plus yarders? The reason he's been so automatic is because pretty much anywhere short of 61 yards, he's been gold every year since he's been drafted. And I know it's kind of dumb to complain that you're all-world great kicker is starting to show little signs of being a human. But he's not an issue that any Ravens fan thought they'd have to be worried about this year. And now I'm worried, hey, if we're in the playoffs and it's late and we have to kick a game winner, can we? You know?
Hey, that's
I'm
very
sure-
valid. I mean,
You know?
he was right. He was an option for me. So I mean, I totally agree.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
I personally think he's gonna come back at some point, whether it's in the playoffs this year or next year, and kind of get over it. He's just kind of one of those people who seems mentally tough, but at the same time, I've never ever seen him miss this many field goals in a season.
Yeah. The only other player that I would put in for this category, disappointment wise, as like an honorable mention, is Broderick Washington, just because we gave him such a good deal before the season started, and he's done absolutely nothing with it, and it's just been outplayed by everybody else on the D line.
Yeah.
And healthy scratch. That's never good.
Yeah.
I mean, there was apparently reason for that. You never know. I mean, you're right though. He has really underperformed that contract.
Yeah, it just kind of proves like back to that whole thing with whenever a guy gets paid for the first time, he tends to take that first year off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but next superlative, defensive player of the year.
Ooh.
All right, I'm just gonna pick the easy one for me, and that's Justin Madubuike. First guy with double-digit sacks since Terrell Suggs as an interior defensive lineman, and I mean, I hope we can keep him, but it's not likely unless he takes a team-friendly deal or we franchise tag him, which I don't know if we can even afford that. So
Be tough.
Be tough.
Okay.
That's a good pick. That was my top guys. So I'm going to change it up. I'm going to go back to my biggest surprise. I'm going to say Geno Stone. Every time, like there are so many instances where we have needed a turnover, and the Ravens in the last couple of years, the Ravens getting interceptions has been a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So for Geno Stone to come in and be like the turnover guy and put our offense in the red zone or really close to the red zone in some of his interceptions, to me, he's the defensive player of the year for me.
I'm kind of torn. But I think what qualifies someone as the defensive player of the year, there are a couple of things. The first one is obviously outstanding stats. The play is good. The second thing is being able to rally your defense around you and be a leader in that locker room. And number three is to never hesitate, never show any cracks, and just, come to work. The only reason I'm not choosing Kyle Hamilton is because Roquan Smith is a better leader. Because if it came down to talent, I would say Kyle Hamilton has been the best player on our defense this year. But Roquan Smith's energy in the locker room is something we haven't had since Suggs and Ray Lewis, on the defensive side at least. We've been saying for years we need someone to unite that locker room, someone to get that defense ready to go. And he is out there pissing people off on interviews, talking about how we're going to go into people's houses and get their wives and their kids, and how when you play the Ravens defense, quarterbacks tend to get hurt. And he's truthful. Ever since Roquan Smith has been a Baltimore Raven, our defense has gone from like bottom 10% to top 3 overall. It's insane. I blame, or I give him just as much credit as I would give Mike McDonald and turning Patrick Queen's career around, because Patrick Queen was lost before Roquan Smith came. And there are times it still seems a little lost, but how often do you say, oh my God, Roquan Smith messed up this play or cost us this game? Normally, he's the reason we're winning games. Even if it's not like just his stats, just his leadership will do that. So the combination of the two makes me say Roquan Smith.
I like that pick.
Great pick.
Definitely. He's
pick.
the emotional leader of the team. And I will say, when going back to your comment on their talent level, I actually think they're pretty equal as far as their position relative to their position. I think both of them are probably top 3 or 4 in their position in the NFL.
Dude, Kyle Hamilton plays like Ray Lewis, but at safety. It's just every corner of the field, wherever you need him.
He's just so explosive, and then the fact that his body type, how long he is, he's like a freaking praying mantis out there, just swatting shit down. Like, he's crazy.
He's playing we'll get to him again later in the segment, but he's playing incredibly well.
So that brings us to the Offensive Player of the Year. I think it's pretty easy to pick the quarterback whenever your team's doing good, but I'm going to go away from that. I'm going to go to somebody that has put a lot of points on the board for us this year, someone we can rely on when we need to get that one extra yard, and that's Gus Edwards, Gus Bus, as we all call him. He is proven to be just the guy that we can go to when we need 1 yard. And like, it's almost as valuable, like we talk about all the time, as the tush push with Philly. You can almost guarantee 100% that Gus Edwards will get you 1 yard. Even if he gets touched in the backfield before he gets to the line of scrimmage, he's going to break a tackle or lean forward for that extra yard.
Definitely. I like that.
Could not agree more. That was my only Offensive Player of the Year award that I was going to give out, was straight to Gus. A certain circumstance in the Chargers game, we needed, I think it was a situation where we went for it on 4th down. I know we didn't get it on one try, but there was one try he definitely got smacked behind the line. I don't know who he was running behind, but the defender went straight through him, hit Gus from behind. It was done. But Gus kept trucking, kept going, fell forward, got the yard. Gus Edwards has been the man. I think he's got 10 or 11 touchdowns on the season.
Yeah.
He's the man. Like, Gus he's the guy. So yeah, he's my dude.
I think the crazy thing about it is that, like, all Ravens fans were just up in arms about us not getting a running back at the trade deadline.
Right.
And as much as you want to have as much firepower as you can, Gus Edwards has done more than enough. And then you bring in Keaton Mitchell, who we can talk about more, but
right.
Silly. Gus has been silly.
So Gus has been great. Mark Andrews was one who I really, really wanted to put out there, but it's hard to put someone who's injured, although he was contributing to, like.
I mean, I don't think it's you can't say that, because he's up to this point. We're talking mid-season,
right? But he's
only missed 1 game.
2.
He missed the Bengals.
The first game.
2 games. That's right.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, he came back against the Bengals, and then But guys, what have we been doing for the last 2 years? You know just as well as me that there is only one player on this offense that if we don't have, we don't win. That's Lamar Jackson. It's plain and simple. He's the best player on our offense, no matter who else you put out there. Yes, Zay Flowers is great. Gus Edwards gets it in. But Lamar Jackson is a game changer. Lamar Jackson is our Patrick Mahomes. He's our Aaron Rodgers. Without him, we'd be Snoop Huntley in a 7-6 team right now. If that. We wouldn't be 9-3. We'd be like 4-6 or 4-8. That's 12 games. And it's nothing against Snoop. Lamar Jackson is the key to our success. I had a heart attack against the Bengals when he went down, because I was like, well, great. Where's our season? There's our season. Lamar Jackson is going to be the only offensive reason that this team wins a Super Bowl if we win a Super Bowl this year, because everything else is complimentary.
Hard to argue that.
Can Lamar Jackson, when he gets tackled, not sit there for like 2 seconds after every time he gets tackled?
Well,
he scares me every time. He's like banging the ground like he's hurt. I'm like, no.
He's just like super frustrated. And
just take an inventory of the moment or something.
I will say, Homer has brought this up in the past. There are times when the lights shine the brightest where Lamar seems to shrink. I don't sense that this year. Yes, he's had a couple of weird games, but like, just look at his attitude. Look at the difference between this year and years past on like his week to week. Look at the trust that his teammates have in him. Look at the trust his coaches have in him. This man is leading like he's never led before. And we are going to sink or sail with this man. And there's nothing we can do about it. So
most certainly. I still stand. Look, I'm having an ESPN moment. I still stand by my criticism of Lamar Jackson not shining the brightest. Watched a lot of Lamar Jackson football. I have a lot of evidence that proves it, but I hope this year's different for all of our sake and sanity.
I don't think we can give him a fair evaluation of what he does in the playoffs until he plays in the playoffs with a real offensive coordinator. I'm just
baby boy, he's got this year, so we'll find out.
So So unless all of his wide receivers get injured again and all of his O-line get injured again, if we go into the playoffs about as healthy as we are right now on offense, and we have Todd Monken coaching the way he has, and we don't have EDC on the sideline telling John Harbaugh what plays to call or whatever the heck we had going on last week, he's going to show us something different that we haven't seen as a Raven yet. I have full faith in that. We might not win the Super Bowl. Our best might not be good enough to win the Super Bowl, but he will die trying.
I am stuck in between both of you guys. You're kind of like the opposites. Like Palmer has no belief. Mike has all the belief. I'm like right in the middle. I'm just like, you got to prove it to me. And he hasn't really proven it. He hasn't proven it in the playoffs, but he's got one playoff win, right?
Doesn't matter. And he'll show up this year.
Yeah, like I said, he's got to prove it to me. I know he hasn't had the same talent he does around him this year in the past, so I'm excited to see how that changes his game. But
let me ask you, just for the sake of knowing, let's just say we get to the playoffs, right? We're the number 2 seed because the Chiefs went out because they're not gonna lose again.
Okay.
Name one quarterback not named Lamar Jackson who you would have more faith to go into Arrowhead with this defense in the AFC Championship game and win. That's playing right now because everyone say Joe Burrow.
Josh Allen.
You think Josh Allen could go into Arrowhead right now?
Did you watch him last weekend?
Yeah, I did. That was one game.
Josh Allen's issue has been the Buffalo Bills have built a historically horrendous defense.
Yeah.
And
he's putting up points.
They have no running game whatsoever. So I would probably say Josh Allen as well. And even though Joe Burrow is hurt, Joe Burrow can go.
Well, Joe Burrow's the only one who's done it. So Tom Brady too, but that was.
All right. Well, that's the week.
All right.
That's the week.
So, okay, fine. That's fine. And I respect that. I think that it's going to be very, very, very surprising to a lot of people when Lamar Jackson goes in there and shows who's boss. And who knows, maybe we do end up with the number 1 seed and it's not anything we have to worry about. But
yeah. All right. So next superlative, we're going to go rookie of the year, either side of the ball. I think the easiest one is Zay Flowers. That's who I'm going to go with. He's really had a coming out party against the Chargers with the 2 touchdowns. I expect him to really take off from there for the rest of the season and really just show he's our number 1 guy.
The only reason I'm not going Zay is because I think you have certain expectations of a first-round wide receiver. Granted, we have historically not been very good picking them, so it is a surprise whenever they do well here. But I'm going Keaton Mitchell. I think his first game was just Madden-esque. I mean, 9 yards a carry, long touchdown, 130 some odd yards. Just the undrafted value. Whoever our scout team is that picks these guys up post-draft, they're awesome. I'm going to Keaton Mitchell.
I scouted him smacking my Coastal Carolina Chanticleers in the bowl game last year.
For me, he's my rookie of the year.
I think it's pretty clear that the rookie of the year so far has been Zay Flowers. But I do want to give a shout out to Tavius Robinson because he has quietly been our most solid rookie. Not necessarily our flashiest one, but definitely one of the most solid ones. But I think it's still Zay Flowers. I cannot remember a time outside of maybe Steve Smith where I have ever seen anyone wearing the Ravens uniform with that kind of talent at wide receiver. It's insane. I will watch some of these catches and just be like, am I having an aneurysm right now? Like, did I just have a stroke? Like, or did that actually happen?
He's our version of Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill gave him props this week. He literally said he is me.
Huge.
So, the only thing is just don't get too big ahead. Don't get too big ahead.
I don't think
he doesn't seem like he will.
No.
He's still that little brother. It seems like.
Yeah,
he's one of 10 kids.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's hard to have a huge, like, inflated ego when you're one of 10.
And he played out
And
Boston College of like all
grew up
college.
in a situation. Like, I think he's definitely a stud. And to a real quick throwback before you move on to the next part, I had Tavius Robinson as honorable mention.
Mhm.
He is so close on so many sacks, and for a guy coming late to football, where we heard this again with the Ravens, coming late to football, coming from Canada, but the dude has been really close, and I was really glad to see him get a sack last week. But he's been very close. I think he's going to be someone that's actually going to pan out at edge for us.
I think he's got probably the highest ceiling of any player on our team right now.
It's there. And we're going to talk about the guy. I think we'll be talking about the guy that's going to make him really good later. At least.
All right. So next superlative then. Best offseason signing. All right. This one, I feel like doesn't really get talked about because it's just kind of like expected. But Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
We signed him last offseason. We're forgetting that, I feel like. We just expected him to be a Raven, Like,
True.
We had to give him something that he wanted, and we got it done. EDC got that deal done. That is one of the biggest signings in Ravens history. And not only that, he is not doing what Broderick Washington is doing. He is actually balling in his first year of his big contract. So to me, he deserves every penny he's getting paid.
Thus far, again, we'll see about the whole playoff situation, but we're not going there yet.
Stephen A.
I didn't even think about that. That Lamar signing didn't even cross my mind. I think the best offseason signing for me was Clowney.
Mm-hmm.
And we picked him up for a song. Like, he signed a $2.5 million contract. And for him to – no one does – the only person that does well in Cleveland is Myles Garrett. If your name's not Myles Garrett, you're not flourishing in a Cleveland Browns uniform.
Right.
I mean, rest in peace, Chubb's legs. I could give a damn what Deshaun Watson ever does the rest of his career.
Right.
So Jadeveon Clowney needed to get out of the Browns. I think what he said was completely correct about the Browns, and he's proving that. We were worried about him being a possible locker room issue, and worried about how he would affect like the young guys, like development and stuff like that. He's been an absolute stud, and I think that was just an insanely good pickup on DeCosta's part. So for me, it's Clowney all day long.
It makes me just feel like if we drafted him out of college, he would have been a Raven for life and would have been one of the all-time great Ravens if he was just with us his entire career.
Certainly.
Sure.
I mean, back then, who was it? Dean Pease? Dean Pease was a great defensive player.
What are you doing with your hands, bro?
What? Oh, that.
Your hands, dude.
Tired.
Who's your pick?
For the best offseason signing, hands down, Lamar Jackson. And I'm mad at you because I thought it was going to be slick and be like Lamar Jackson. Slick. So it was definitely Lamar Jackson. Clowney would have been my second choice. And I think a third choice that people, kind of sometimes tend to forget with fucking offseason signing. Zay Flowers. He was a rookie. He was an offseason signing. Without Zay Flowers, this offense would look very different. Right.
Just so everyone knows, there's breaking news. Von Miller has turned himself in for allegedly assaulting his pregnant girlfriend.
Uh,
I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole. So we'll be breaking news.
I'm sorry.
We'll just let that break.
So with that, we're going to go into the worst offseason signing.
Perfect segue.
Yeah. So to be honest, I don't feel like Eric DeCosta made any bad offseason signings. So yes, there were a lot that were better than others. There's one in particular that hasn't really stood out. And I just think it's just a matter of opportunity and injury. And that would be Rocky Sin. I don't think like if we had to go back and do it all over again, I would definitely sign him all over again. Back in the situation that we were in at the time, he was the best player on the market.
Oof.
Then we went and got Darby, obviously, who's done pretty well. But Rocky Sin, got injured early on in training camp and never really fully recovered, it seems like. I will say he made one of the biggest plays of the year when he did the PBU on Jamar Chase when we were at Cincinnati in week 2.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest defensive plays of the year. If we don't make that play, we don't win that game. So I still think he was worthy of signing. But I say he is the worst of all of our off-season signings.
For me, there was easily Rock Ya-Sin. Easily, without a doubt, he was the worst off-season signing. And I'm not saying because, we could have got Marcus Peters. We should have kept Marcus. Marcus Peters got cut. Granted, he got cut by the Raiders, which they're another poverty franchise. But I don't think Marcus Peters would have played that well for us either. The reasons he got cut for the Raiders were the same reasons that he didn't perform well last year. So I'm not mad at Costa for not bringing back Marcus Peters or thinking we got Rock, so now we couldn't have ever had Marcus. But Rock Ya-Sin has not even outplayed Darby, dude. Arthur Maulet's getting more snaps than Rock Ya-Sin.
Different position.
Yeah.
They're DBs.
He's
No?
a nickel. Maulet's a nickel. Purely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then forgive me. He's not outplayed Darby.
No.
And honestly, prior to Brandon Stevens finding the secret juice, I would have thought for sure he would have outplayed Brandon Stevens.
Yeah, we expected him to be the number 2 guy behind Marlon.
And he's like the 4th option.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes
I
fifth.
think that
Hell,
also
Kyle
speaks.
Hamilton.
It
We'll
also
put Kyle Hamilton, there before him sometimes. So I think Rock Ya-Sin. How many years we signed him for?
1 year. It was a 1 year deal.
1 or 2.
No, I think it was just 1 year. It was a prove it deal.
No, he's got a 2-year, I think.
Is it a 2 year with like an option to release after one kind of thing, or is it like?
Well,
I don't know. Oh, it was a
I
1
will-
year. 1 year, $4 million
Okay.
with a $2 million signing bonus.
Still not good.
Um.
Not good.
So
Mike?
this is the off-season signing that a lot of people forget about, and it wasn't a bad off-season signing, but it hasn't done anything for us this year, and that's because they got hurt in training camp. I have a lot of faith that they'll be back next year and be a good player. But Nick Moore, our long snapper, we signed Nick Moore, and then we had to immediately sign another long snapper because he got hurt, and with all of our kicking problems, even though the snaps are good, maybe it's just a familiarity thing. Like, again, I know I said I don't want to hear too many excuses, but it's tough when you have 2 different long snappers in training camp, I'm sure. I don't know.
So-
I just wanted to say someone other than Darby. So I was thinking of anyone else who might not necessarily have lived up yet. So I don't think it's a bad.
Tyler Ott was a ex-Pro Bowl.
No, I'm not saying it was a bad signing because of what resulted after it. I'm saying it's a bad signing because he just hasn't played. You know what I mean? Like, it sucks because we spent money on someone that isn't playing.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm not saying Nick Moore sucks. I'm not saying Ott sucks. I'm just trying to give a different option other than Darby.
Okay.
Or not Darby. Nixon.
Well, I think that brings us to the next superlative, the best coach. And
Are we doing best and worst coach?
yes, I think that there's a couple of guys that we could pick here.
Mm-hmm.
One guy in particular that no one really talks about and I think has potential to be a future head coach is T. Martin, quarterback coach for Lamar. I watched his press conference yesterday, and just the way he talks and the way he I feel like coaches Lamar is just something that you want. Like, I don't feel like Lamar was getting that same coaching with the previous quarterbacks coach. I think it was
James Urban.
Urban. Yeah. I don't think he was getting that same type of coaching. I don't think he was being prepared the same way he is with T. Martin. And so for that reason, I'm going T. Martin as my best coach.
Worst coach?
Oh, I'm going to do both. Okay, I'll do my worst coach is Chris Horton, the special teams coordinator, because our special teams has been god awful. I know the first he's been with us for 5 years now, and the first 5 years he was with us, we've always had a top 5 special teams. But this year, I don't even know what our rankings is, but just from watching, it's been awful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, special teams was one of my biggest. If I was going to go back and do another disappointment, special teams to me would probably be, on the whole, probably one of my biggest disappointments. But my coach of Spurs, best coach, I'm going Chuck Smith, our defensive edge coach. Dr. Pass Rush or Dr. Sack or whatever his nickname is. The Ravens have had a hard time coming by sacks the past couple of years, and I don't think we developed edges very well the past couple of years. And Chuck Smith has come in, and in 1 year, he's gotten Owe off to a really good start. Like I'm always hounding Owe. But since he's come back, he's played really well. Jadeveon Clowney's having one of his best seasons he's had in a long time. Kyle Van Noy's coming in and instantly playing really well for us as well. You've got Tavius Robinson getting really close. He's getting really close. And I think he's doing a really great job developing people. I feel excited for Owe's future now. Last year, I could have taken or leaving Owe. But hopefully we keep Chuck Smith for a long time because we're seeing huge dividends with our pass rush. Huge dividends. If I'm going to go worst coach, Tyler, you kind of read my mail on that one. I was definitely thinking special teams as well. But I'm going to pick John Harbaugh.
I knew you were going to say that.
I'm going to pick John Harbaugh. I have never seen a head coach phone in and act like he's just not at the game. Like there's been times where we've been out-coached. We've not taken timeouts when we need to take timeouts, where we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what down it was. We didn't know if we'd gotten a first down. We didn't know the situation. I'm still mad about my Indiana game where they couldn't tell Zay Flowers to do a fair catch. Like there's just so many miscommunications, and that all goes back to Harbaugh. And he's a Super Bowl winning coach. I don't see Bill Belichick making these mistakes. I don't see Andy Reid making these mistakes. And I don't see Mike Tomlin making these mistakes. Like Harbaugh is making really boneheaded, just stupid mistakes that he has no business of making. And I can't help but thinking he's just kind of phoning it in. So to me, John Harbaugh has been the biggest disappointment for me as far as a coach.
I also agree that Chuck Smith has been probably the best coach on this team. Just kind of, I think the last time we had a pass rush like this was when we had Suggs. I mean, it's been like 4 or 5 years since I've consistently seen us.
We lead the league in sacks.
Yeah, that never happened as far as I can remember being a Ravens fan. I mean, it probably has, but not in my memory.
It's been a hot second.
What's even better about it is it's given our secondary an opportunity to flourish the way it has. Our secondary has been locked down because we don't have to rush 5 or 6 people to get to the quarterback. We can rush 3. We can rush 4. But like when we do blitz, we're just so overwhelming that they don't have an opportunity to throw the ball usually. And when they do, they'll gash us, but they don't normally get to because we're so overwhelming. And when they have to sit there and try and break down our coverage, they can't because they'll have someone in their face in a second and a half, and they'll be forced to make a mistake. Look at Jared Goff when he played us. Look at Justin Herbert when he played us. Look at any quarterback we've played this year outside of maybe Kenny Pickett because that game was like weird, but I think we still had a couple sacks in that game. It's insane, and it's game changing. It really is. I fully believe that if our pass rush continues to play the way that we have, it doesn't matter what our offense does. Our defense will be able to stop anyone. It doesn't matter if we give it to the Chiefs at their own 20 with 3 timeouts and 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Our defense is good enough to hang, and it hasn't been in years past because the pass rush hasn't been good. Now it is. Bring it on. Our worst offensive coach, our worst coach, I would probably also have to say John Harbaugh. It's just situational things. He seems flustered. He seems confused, and he half the time he'll take the blame, but the other half he'll like try and find someone else to blame it on. He's the head coach, and I can't tell you how many times there have been games that we should have won that we didn't because we've been outcoached. Or how many times we've won a game and absolutely just gotten lucky because we tried to throw it away. I.e. last week against the Chargers. That was a bad game. And I don't buy we thought we had a first down. It's like maybe, okay, one time. But like, it's almost like a weekly thing now. It's almost like a weekly thing where we have one or two really dumb mishaps. And it's a communications thing, and it costs us games.
I concur.
I don't think that John Harbaugh,
with both of you guys saying John Harbaugh is your worst coach, what do you guys think about this idea that's floating around of us?
Are we segueing?
Mike Macdonald as the head coach in waiting.
Mike, I'll let you go first.
I don't think there's a shot of that happening because I think it's different. I know we did it with EDC, waiting around for Ozzie to kind of step down, but it's different with the head coach. It just really is. They get paid really well. They get to kind of implement their image onto a team. And while it's nice to be kind of homegrown and kind of be familiar with the players and all that, I just find it really unrealistic that everything's going to fall into place the way we want it to. I don't think John Harbaugh is going to be up for that. He kind of seems like he's a little territorial with that stuff. You know what I mean? As most people would be. I don't know how that would go over if you have your successor waiting for you to retire for 4 or 5 years or 3 years or however long it is. In theory, I would love it. I just don't think it's very realistic.
I'm a little more optimistic that's going to happen than you. I think that while Harbaugh historically has been a great coach, he's won one playoff game in the last 7 years. I think he's got 5 years left on his contract.
2025 is when his contract ends, I think.
Okay. I think that it's possible. I think it's possible. The one thing that I'm not so sold on McDonald, and obviously just because you're a great coordinator does not mean you're going to be a great head coach. How many times have we seen that, that happen where they've outstanding offense, outstanding defense, and then their head coaching tenures are a travesty. I would like to get more of a read from Mike Macdonald. He seems very reserved. He seems very doesn't really have a huge personality. He seems just kind of meek. I don't know. I'd like to see him be a little more. I don't know if he's just trying to be cut, straight business, but I think you have to have a big personality to be a head coach. I think because it carries a huge load. It's a huge responsibility. It's much different than just being a coordinator. But I mean,
Bill Belichick won 7 Super Bowls or 6 Super Bowls.
Yeah, but he's not a personality. He's not like a flamboyant personality, but he's got a big personality. He's one of the strangest personalities in the NFL. I mean, so anyway, I mean, it's a possibility. I don't know how it would pan out, but I think it could be possible because Harbaugh's in his early 60s. How long does he want to coach? And if he doesn't start winning playoff games or a Super Bowl soon with this roster, then we have to figure out why. We have to figure out a reason beyond that.
Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are reasons that basketball teams can win 60 games and then fire their head coach the next year when they don't win the NBA championship. It's because you get paid to win, but you also get paid to win in the playoffs. So,
yeah. So I'm kind of stuck here. I think that this option is going to be offered to Mike Macdonald at some point this offseason. I think you got to realize Harbaugh is one of the oldest coaches in the NFL. He's 65, something like that.
Is he already?
He's one of the oldest?
He's one of them.
Really?
He's up there. Yeah. He looks young because of he keeps in good shape.
He's stud. Let's see. Belichick is older. Andy Reid is older.
Pete Carroll's older.
61. He's 61.
So in 2025, he's going to be 63 years old. Mm-hmm. So if I'm him, I'm thinking maybe this is a chance for me to transition into retirement because I think they could do similar to how Ozzie did, where he sticks around for a year in that advisement role, still pay him a crap load of money, and kind of smooth that transition over, kind of teach Mike Macdonald the ropes of being a head coach. And I think that Mike McDonald's, if he's patient enough to take this job, because I know he's going to get opportunities elsewhere, the question will be, does he want the for sure thing? Like the Ravens franchise is so historically just been good for so long. Why risk going to a franchise where you don't know anybody? He's literally been brought up as an intern through the Ravens franchise. Why not stay with them and be the head coach and how everything works?
Hey, I agree. Who wants to be thrown to an organization like the Raiders, the Commanders, the Panthers, maybe the Jets, the Bears? Who wants to be especially at what? How old is McDonald? 36.
30, yeah, he's young.
Like, who wants to die? It's career suicide.
We've had 2 head coaches in the Ravens history. That's the turnover.
If I was Mike McDonald, I'd be praying that that's the scenario, because it would be career suicide for him to be a head coach right now for a dumpster fire organization and get it'd be career suicide. He'd be tarnished goods. Keep being the golden boy. Keep performing well here.
I think what gives us hope is that he's not an offensive coordinator. He's a defensive coordinator, because you know how teams just eat up the young offensive mind. It's all about getting yards, throwing as many touchdowns as you can, lighting up the scoreboard and scoring 50 points a week. That's kind of what everyone wants to do. So we're lucky that he's a defensive coordinator, and they're not necessarily in as much demand for head coaching roles. I'm really worried that you're going to get one of these teams that's historically good and already half built. So
the one team that I'm mainly concerned about is the Patriots, because if Bill Belichick is gone, McDonald is actually from Massachusetts originally, so it'd be a good coming home for him. It's a good Bill Belichick's been there. However, do you want to be in his shadow
not at all, dude.
The number one
media? Oh my gosh, no chance.
Maybe you go to Chicago. They already have a defensive-minded head coach. You're going to have 2 top 4 draft picks, so you can get your quarterback in the future.
Do you think he's fired?
Eberflus?
Isn't this only his first year?
It's his second year.
Oh.
Yeah, it's his second year. And I can't name one thing he's done to that team that's made it a notable team.
You got Lamar Jackson with the Ravens.
Yeah.
You have a quarterback. You have a defense. What more do you want to ask for? What can you ask for?
That's it. All right. We beat that horse to death.
Okay. All right. Well, what we're going to do now, we're done with all the superlatives. Let's go ahead and I want to just give you guys a list of Pro Bowlers who I think are going to be Pro Bowlers, and then you can say if there's someone that you'd like to add to that or take away.
Okay.
Up to this point, Justin Madubuike, Kyle Hamilton, Brandon Stevens, Roquan Smith, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Ricard, just because there's no other fullbacks in the AFC, and Tyler Linderbaum.
Jordan Stout.
Oh. Linderbaum is someone I did not have on my list. Linderbaum is a good one. I don't know how I missed Linderbaum, but I got the guy next to Linderbaum. I said Kevin Zeitler, who's continued really, really well.
He's kind of like an unsung hero for us.
Very much so. I don't think Brandon Stevens will be a Pro Bowler, and I'm not saying it because it's not because he hasn't earned it. It's just cornerback is so deep, and it's a popularity contest. I don't see him.
He has been getting a lot of notoriety on social media lately. He's actually the number 1 targeted corner in the NFL. And so he's been getting a lot of publicity from PFF and guys or social media like that. So maybe, I don't know.
I think Madubuike definitely, Geno Stone, Roquan, PQ, Kyle Hamilton. Obviously, Patrick Carr is going to freaking get it because, he's going up against nobody.
Zeitler, Patrick Queen?
Yeah, I think PQ. I mean, he and Roquan, they both.
Well, I'm just thinking AFC linebackers.
You got that dude on the Jets. Who's pretty good.
He's a top guy. The Jets linebacker. There's a lot of NFC linebackers that are good. Okay. There was the
Miami. They have
there was the guy for the Chiefs, but he got hurt, Bolton.
Yeah, Nick Bolton.
I think PQ might be able to sneak
He
it
might
in.
be. He might be. He might be able to make it maybe as like the sub.
I think that Jordan Stout is one of the better punters in the AFC. I know that's not necessarily something to be like, woo, but like you guys have seen it when we've been backed up and we need to get it all the way across the field. We can kick it from our 2-yard line and get it to their 20. So
I think his strength is really just how strong his leg is, but I don't necessarily think he's like Sam Cook when it comes to pinning guys in that coffin corner.
not yet. But
No, I mean that's talking about going back, following up like Bill Belichick. Try being a Raven punter and following up Sam Cook. I mean dude has punts. Like he created certain type of punts. Like that's what I'm saying. Like that's I think in due time. In due time, I think he'll be a stud for sure.
Yeah.
I wanted to say I could see just because it's like a popularity thing. If he has a really, really, really strong last weeks, I think you can maybe see Keaton Mitchell or Devin Duvernay as a returner.
He'd have to start returning them.
I mean,
that's true.
He got hawked down by a freaking punter.
Yeah.
Well, that when you don't get the opportunity, when people aren't kicking to you,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You don't get the opportunity.
Keaton Mitchell has a really unique opportunity where if he just puts like 3 or 4, because again, it's a popularity contest. So if he has like 3 or 4 really good games at the end of the year and he's fresh in everyone's mind and he's an undrafted rookie, maybe the media will be like, oh, look at this guy, kind of like they did with Isaiah Pacheco last year. And then,
I just think there's so many good running backs in the AFC that'll be really very tough.
They're not doing like a normal Pro Bowl anymore, are they?
Aren't they doing flag?
Oh, yeah.
Hell, I could be out there to play center.
Yeah. You want to
flag.
those guys?
Yeah, why not? They can't tackle me.
Yeah, that's true. They'll still leave your ass in the dust, but
that's fine. I'm just hiking the ball.
You'll get covered by like what's his name? Trayvon Diggs. They'll have Diggs on you, or they'll have like Warner on you as a middle linebacker while you're playing.
They could guard you with Michael Pierce.
Hey, come on now. Give me a little credit.
I wouldn't give you that much
credit. Jeez, I didn't know I was invited my roast.
No, it's okay. I can confidently say when he left mid-season last year, Palmer was definitely like top 3 in our flag football league. So
I mean,
and then apparently, I haven't seen for certain, so he could be lying. But when he went to New York, he was doing pretty well up there too. So,
hey, stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get into just some offense and defensive reviews so far, and just kind of what we hope to see here toward the rest of the season. We'll go ahead and start with offense. For me, I would say personally, I think it's kind of been a little bit of a hodgepodge so far offensively, kind of just week to week. You never know what type of offense we're going to run, whether it's going to be more heavy with the run or more heavy with the pass or more RPO based. And I know we've had injuries that's kind of dictated that, but I'd like to see Monken really just prove that we have an identity. I know without Mark Andrews, it's definitely shifted. So for me, what I'd like to see going for the rest of the year is I'd like to see Zay Flowers be more involved down the field instead of just short, quick passes or just short 5-yard crossers. I'd like to see him have more well-developed routes down the field, like 10, 15 yards at least, that are just like – because I don't think anybody can really guard him one-on-one. And so if Lamar knows the defense is in this coverage, and as long as Zay Flowers is in man-to-man coverage, no second defender on him, I think he's going to get open and make a play. And then once he catches the ball, we know how electric he is. So I'd like to see that. I'd like to see – because right now he's kind of that gadget player.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd like to see more of Keaton Mitchell as that gadget player. I'd like to see more of Isaiah Likely as that gadget player. Those two guys, to me, are the one – I guess all 3 of those guys are guys that really – when you watch them with the ball in their hands, it's a different speed, it seems like, than the other guys. So,
okay. Are we doing –
I agree. I think for me, what I want to see from the offense moving forward is I want to see us capitalize in situations where we need to score and need to put the game away. Last week was a step in the right direction. ended the game with Zay Flowers scoring the touchdown, but it was against the Chargers defense, who historically this season have not been good and did play really well against us. All game stands that, made 2 drives. I don't have faith in our offense to score when we really need them to. If it's a situation like we're in Arrowhead, we've got the ball last, we need to put up 7. I'm not feeling super confident we're going to pull it off. And so that's something I want to see us march down the field. How many times have we been in the red zone, near the red zone, or at least in enemy territory and come away with zilch?
Right.
It's been a lot.
And that goes back to the field goals.
And that most certainly, I said before the season, if we are within Justin Tucker's field goal range, at minimum, every drive, we should get at least 3 points. There's no drive where we should come up nada. There's been a lot of drives this year where we've been in that range and gotten squat. So I want to see the offense score points when we need them to score points.
See, there's one thing that we totally, absolutely have the capability to do, because I saw it almost against the Steelers. I've seen it a few times this year, including last game, where when we want to move the ball vertically, we can get chunk yards. We can move the ball down the field. But for some reason, we'll get comfortable, or we'll try and trick the other team, and we'll try to move the ball horizontally. We'll do like screen passes, or we'll do little dink and dunk things. I want to see us attack the field, go down the field, throw for 500 yards, throw for 6 touchdowns. I don't give a crap about these other teams were embarrassing. I have seen you do it in parts, but I want to see the Ravens go down the field consistently. They did it just fine against the Lions for most of the game. Same with the Seahawks, although that was a little different. That was more of a running kind of thing. But even with the run game, I just want to see us attack the defense, not go around them, attack the defense head on, because our offense is equipped to do that, even without Mark Andrews now. Because we saw Isaiah Likely, he'll get some yak. OBJ, Zay Flowers, Nelson Aguilar, those guys will be open in the middle of the field. We can move the ball down the field. And even though I know accuracy has been a question sometimes with Lamar, not as much this season. I love that play we did against the Lions where it was that little option pass, whatever it was, to Gus Edwards, and he took it for like another 80 yards. Like, that's attacking the field. It doesn't all have to be next to you or behind you. You know what I mean? Just go down the field. We will score so much more if we just go down the field and shove the ball down their freaking throats, because they won't be able to stop it.
I agree with that. How many times, like the screen passes, I want one. Like I only want like one lateral style pass.
Big screen for
I only want one of those plays. Like we'll do it to Zay,
right.
But like I agree. The stuff we try to do it's a little too Greg Roman-esque for me sometimes. We need to start pulling the trigger and moving the ball down the field. So many teams can throw the ball 8, 9, 10, 15 yards and pick those up every time. We don't know why we
done it this year.
I know why we don't consistently do it either. I agree.
Inconsistent.
Yes,
I agree 100%.
Consistency is the key word that we're all looking for. Is we've seen flashes, but it's not been consistent.
Yep, I agree 100%.
All right, well, then let's go ahead and talk about the defense then. So far, our defense, I feel like we've gone on streaks of just looking like we were like the 2000 Ravens almost. And then we look the very next week, we look like we're the worst run defense in the NFL. And I know we've had a lot of road games and a lot of travel and a lot of guys just tired and all of that. So I think the biggest thing for me going forward is we need to shore up our run defense. And to do that, I think our defensive line has to be that much better at freeing up our linebackers to make plays, because what it seems like ever since that Arizona game, the offensive linemen, the running schemes that we're being attacked with are basically putting our D linemen one-on-one with their offensive linemen and allowing their other offensive linemen to move up to that second level and put hands on our linebackers. So what we need to be able to do is have at least one of our defensive linemen, one of our big nose tackles, Michael Pierce, Travis Jones, those guys, they've got to basically own two gaps and have one hand on one guy, one hand on the other. They're strong enough to do that. That's really their job and their position. So if we're able to do that, I think the sky's the limit, because our linebackers, when they're free, are going to find the ball.
I agree. I think the two things I want our run defense to get better, and in the fourth quarter, I want our defense as a whole to show up. Because when your offense isn't doing what it needs to do, your defense needs to be locked down and at least prohibit the other teams from scoring. And first, second, third quarter, I have no qualms that our defense can pitch a shutout. But the fourth quarter, I don't know if we're tired. I don't know if it's a conditioning thing. I don't know if it's a mental thing. But the fourth quarter, our defense can not crumble, but it can definitely crack.
Well,
and so I want to see a full 4 quarters, on defense. And I agree. The run defense has been atrocious lately. So I concur.
I'm not worried about the run defense. What I am really worried about is our prevent defense in the fourth quarter and in just situational football. Teams will find ways to throw, like they'll be held to like 60 yards in the air and then all of a sudden have a 200-yard fourth quarter in the air. Because for whatever reason, when we get into zone coverage, when we try to do that prevent football, we forget what we're doing. Another thing, and this kind of ties in with the running, there is no reason every time a team throws a screen for us, it should go for a first down. There is no reason anytime someone throws a screen against us, they get a first down, or at least like 8 yards. That's going to kill us. Because what do you think Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are going to do all game against us? The same thing the Browns did all game, or at least all second half. That's how they'll beat us. The Bills could do it. The Steelers could do it now that they actually have a semi-competent OC. I still think they're bad, and I still think they're probably not going to go very far, but Pat Freiermuth could kill us because they'll just throw a little 2-yard dink to him, have their guy block, and we'll be one-on-one and just miss the tackle or be too far away to get them down anywhere relatively good. And those two things are going to kill us. The reason I'm not worried about the run defense is because we always find a way to kind of turn it on in the middle of the game with the run defense. I know usually we're up, and so they run a little less. But this week with the Chargers, I thought our run defense did really well for the most part. I know they got through us some, but it was Austin Eckler. He's going to get through you sometimes. Back to kind
he
of
only had 34 yards. So
right. And even with like
trended well.
I think
we're trending. I guess we take the one game. We're trending well.
Yeah.
But, Miami is going to have a good run game. San Francisco is going to have a good run game.
Rams.
The Rams.
LA is going to have – they're going to have a good run game. I'm not, uber worried, but I definitely know that the Dolphins and 49ers are going to try to run it down our throat. And as of now, they will
– we have left, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We do. I noticed this against the Browns, and this is why I'm so worried kind of about that whole screen and prevent defense. When a running quarterback decides to run against us, he makes us regret it. And what they'll do is they'll throw a bunch of screens, have a bunch of little RPOs where they'll kind of get us confused as to what they're doing, and then they'll just choose the right option and gash us every single time. Oh, you're going to rush me? Okay, I'll just throw it to my tight end. Oh, you're going to go after the tight end? Okay, I'll just walk 12 yards up the field because no one's in the middle. Patrick Mahomes will kill us. Trevor Lawrence.
I think the only game that's really happened to us is the Cleveland game with Deshaun Watson. And to me, it wasn't really as much RPOs and designed runs as it was him just when the play broke down, he took off and was able to break tackles in the backfield, and we weren't able to corral him. So I don't think there's anybody that we play the rest of the year, maybe Trevor Lawrence, that has that athletic ability that Deshaun Watson did.
I will say, week one, when I was out there at the Texans game, if CJ Stroud had decided to run, he would have gotten a lot of yards on us too. I think it's more that we haven't played quarterbacks that will expose us like that, but we need to recognize that it is one of our vulnerabilities and be ready so that when we do have to play the Chiefs in the playoffs, or God forbid the freaking Eagles in the Super Bowl or something like that, we can contain that quarterback, and we can.
The Eagles are the most concerning to me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyway, that's what I got.
All right. Let's go ahead then.
What's funny?
What you got? Go ahead, Palmer.
I was just saying, and the one thing is, it's odd because we have the quarterback on our team that we could practice against to shore that up.
Yeah.
Like, who's better at scrambling than Lamar Jackson? Like, we have the guy that
Oh,
you
if we don't
can,
wanna
you
use
know what I'm saying?
Lamar,
So
we
it's
have
just
Tyler
bizarre.
Huntley, too, so
Yeah, and you got Huntley. So 2 mobile guys.
So it's anyway, bizarre.
All right. Let's go ahead and get into. I want to look at just our guys that on their contract year here. All
Oh,
right. So very quickly, because I know we're
it's all good.
doing good on. We're running high on time here. All right. So here's the list right now. Let me go ahead and pull it up like this.
Okay.
So we got the full
Oh
screen.
my God, that's like everyone on this team.
I mean, it's a Super Bowl. It's kind of a Super Bowl or bust kind of season for us.
So you got OBJ, Kevin Zeitler, Michael Pierce, Gus Edwards, Rock Yassin, Nelson Aguilar,
Patrick Queen.
Tyler Huntley, Clowney, Geno Stone, Ronald Darby, J.K. Dobbins, Josh Johnson, Justin Madubuike, Brent Urban, Darryl Worley, Devin Duvernay, Malik Harrison, Delshon Phillips, Arthur Millette, Trayvon Mullen, who's on the IR, John Simpson, and then Ardarius Washington is the last one.
A lot of those people we need to keep. We're not going to keep everyone.
I
Yeah.
think
If you had to pick, let's say, your top 2 players that you think we are going to pick, not that we want to keep, but that we're going to keep, who would you say that are starters?
We're going to make a move on Jadeveon Clowney probably, and a move on either Justin Madubuike or Patrick Queen.
that's a solid 2. Okay. These aren't as sexy. I'm not going to pick those people because you picked them. I think we'll keep Gus Edwards. And I think we will re-sign Nelson Aguilar.
What are the rules with Odell Beckham Jr. and his void years? Is it like if we don't re-sign him, we owe him money, or like what is that with all the void years that we put on his contract?
Isn't he only on a 1-year deal?
Yeah, but
He's
we
on
signed
1 year, but there's like options. I forgot what it was, but there's like a thing where like
there's like 3 void years on there or something.
yeah, it'd be favorable if he came back another year or so. Which I mean,
Basically,
I
a
think
void year is like a year. I think that we're not. He signed, but we're not committed. Meaning, like if we cut him, we owe him money for it. But if we sign him, then we'd have to give him an extension. Kind of.
I think, all right, starters wise, I think you do re-sign J.K. Dobbins for cheap. I think you do. I know you're not going to like that, but I think he's going to be very cheap.
We have Keaton Mitchell now.
rewind to what you just said back, Tyler. You said he's made of glass. Why do you want to re-sign?
But guess what? I'm not going to rely on him next year. I'm not going to rely on him. I'm going to sign him to a 1-year deal for $500,000 league minimum.
Does he sign that deal?
No, he doesn't.
No one else is going to give him more.
He can recruit or sell cars in Ohio around Ohio State's university. That's where he'll be.
Nah, he'll be on a team.
No.
And then I'm going to say that we re-sign OBJ.
First of all, I don't think we're only re-signing 2 of these guys. I think
I know that.
We're
Yeah.
going to sign.
Yeah.
We're going to sign.
Well, I mean, like 2 of the bigger guys. I think we'll be able to get like 3 or 4 of the bigger guys, like starters, back, depending on who it is. Also, depending on certain players maybe getting cut on our June 30th deadline.
I think JK getting hurt fiscally was a blessing in disguise because that freed up money for a Patrick Queen or for a Justin Madubuike.
We tried to sign Justin Madubuike before the season.
My bold prediction is that we don't get either of those guys, and we end up re-signing Michael Pierce. I think we re-sign Michael Pierce.
He'd be cheap.
Yeah, cheap. He's 31. Re-sign him, and I think we re-sign Odell.
Do I have permission to do a quick run through?
Sure.
Like real quick.
Who do you
Odell, I think he can come back. Zeitler, I think we can sign him.
Zeitler, I could see retiring.
definitely
I
win
think
something.
I think he's got 2 more years. I think he could go 2 more.
He's
But
30. He's almost 34.
I don't know his body, but I think he could do it. Pierce, we could bring back on the cheap. Gus Edwards, we could bring back because I think Gus loves Baltimore. Rocky Sin,
Also, Gus is like 29, 28, so like we could sign him to a lower deal too.
Nelson Aguilar, I think Nelson would come back. Patrick Queen, I don't know. Huntley, I don't think Huntley's coming back. I don't think we're having Huntley back.
I think we'll draft somebody late, quarterback.
I think Clowney, we could bring back. Stone, we'd have to cut Marcus Williams.
I don't see Geno Stone making it to us.
We'd have to, he'll probably get some serious cash. Darby will probably not come back because maybe one of the guys that have been a ghost cornerback on our team actually shows up and doesn't, get hurt.
We'll probably go out with Armore Davis as like our third and then draft someone.
I'm gonna call him Cardboard Davis.
Just keep in mind, these are all unrestricted. The only restricted free agent is Ardarius Washington.
He'll come back. He was balling before he got hurt. He was balling in preseason.
Thank God he's restricted.
Josh Johnson's not coming back.
I could see Millette coming back.
Probably.
I think Millette comes back. I think Delshon Phillips is back. I think Duvernay's gone. I don't think we bring Duvernay back, and I don't think we pay him.
I agree.
I think we can get someone else to do the job. But Worley, what's crazy is with so many of these DBs and secondary people, it all depends on if Cardboard Davis is healthy and if Pepe Bubble Wrap is good to come back.
I also think that there's a chance we cut Ronnie Stanley.
I think that if we cut Ronnie Stanley, we can sign 3/4 of these players. I think if we do cut Ronnie Stanley, it's going to be for one of two players. It's going to be for either Justin Madubuike or it's going to be for Patrick Queen. Maybe like a combination of some of the cheaper players, but I don't think we would necessarily cut someone for that. I really think we got to prioritize Madubuike and
I think Madubuike is a franchise player.
I don't want any of our guards that are behind Zeitler to have starting roles next year for Lamar's health. So hopefully we can hold on to him.
I think if you between Madubuike and Queen, I don't think you get both. I think you get one. And if you prioritize, I think you prioritize Madubuike since you already have Roquan. And I think it's less of a drop off at the linebacker position because I just feel like Roquan elevates whoever he's next to.
I guarantee you a team from the AFC North will sign whoever we don't sign of those two. It'll be like the Bengals or it'll be the Steelers or someone who's just going to really piss us off. Because then we'll be playing Patrick Queen twice a year every year. We'll be playing Justin Madubuike twice every year.
I definitely don't think the Steelers are going to sign Patrick Queen, and I don't think Patrick Queen would go there.
Patrick Queen's a Southern boy.
No,
he ain't trying to go.
He does not like Mike Tomlin.
No, I know he doesn't like Mike Tomlin, but okay.
He's a Louisiana boy and loves fishing, so I think he's going to go south, if anything. Yeah, I could see him go to Miami.
Maybe. That's not
all right. Let's go ahead and get into the next topic here. Just the rest of the season. Let me go ahead and change what I'm sharing here.
Is this going to affect our weekly pick'em? Do I have to?
No. I'm just going to we're just literally going to give a record.
Oh, okay.
All right. We don't need to go through each game since it would take forever if we do that.
What's it, 6 games? Rams, Jaguars, Niners.
Well, I'm just going to do this. My back. All right. So here's what we got here. Bye week, week 13. Week 14, we've got the Rams at home. So we get the West Coast team coming to us at 1 o'clock. Week 15, we got at Jacksonville on Sunday Night Football. Week 16, we are at the San Francisco 49ers on a Monday night. So extra day, technically.
It's Christmas night.
And it's Christmas night on December 25th.
Bad memories of Christmas night and Ravens games.
Yes. Mainly New Year's Eve, to be
well,
fair.
Do you remember that stupid AB
Me too. You got them both.
Christmas.
Week 17, New Year's Eve, at home versus the Miami Dolphins at 1:00. And then week 18, to be determined time, could be flexed at home versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we got 5 games left. Let's go ahead around the table here, around the horn. Pick your record. We're 9-3 right now, so what will our final record be?
I think we beat the Rams. I think we beat the Jaguars. I think 49ers probably bop us. The Miami game, I think, is a toss-up. And I think we beat the Steelers. So I think we're going to win 4 to 5 of these games. And typically, I'm the grand pessimist. But I think we have the ability to win 4 to 5 of these
Isn't
games.
Harbaugh like ridiculously good out of his bye week too? Like the first game at least?
Yeah.
I'm not concerned about the Rams. And should I be concerned about the Rams? Because I haven't.
I'm concerned about the Rams.
I'm very concerned about the Rams, actually.
Really? Well, I guess I'm just.
Dude, Kyron Williams is a beast.
They still have some of those stars.
Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp is going to be coming back.
Matt Stafford, if he plays, is.
I'm not worried about. I mean, I guess you still got Aaron Donald on their defense, but mainly I'm worried about their offense.
Yeah.
I feel like we've bopped the Rams when they've been much better.
Yes, we have.
One thing to also note here is you've got the Rams, 49ers, and Dolphins. All of those guys, offensive coaches, are coming from that same system. You got McVay, Shanahan, and McDonald. All 3 of those guys have worked together.
Yeah. I just think that I think we beat I still think we beat the Rams. I think the Jags are benefit of being in a weak conference. That's the reason their record is what it is. I do think the 49ers paddle us. The Dolphins have shown that they don't show up against good teams. Like their record, they are really good against below 500 teams. So take that for what it is. And if we lose to the Steelers, so help me God. So help me God. We can't lose to the Steelers.
Here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say we go 4-1 in the final 5, which would put us at 13-4. And I think we beat the Rams. I think we lose to the Jaguars. And I think we're going to beat the 49ers and Dolphins and Steelers to finish the season.
Wow. Y'all are optimistic.
DK, you wild for that one.
Okay, so
I just can never forget the Jacksonville game that we let up last year.
And in London.
This stretch is going to say a lot about this team. And I think it says more about this team if we lose some of these games than if we win them all. I think we're going to get the best version of every single one of these teams because every single one of these teams right now is playing for a spot in the playoffs, including the Rams. I think we're going to beat the Rams. I think we're going to beat the Jaguars. I think we're going to beat the Niners and then lose the last 2 games. This is why, because both of these teams have had our numbers for the last 3 years. We've lost the last 2 against the Dolphins. I was at that dreadful game.
And you were there because I couldn't make it.
We're not beating the Steelers in a few years, except for that 1 game last year. Now, here's the thing. We're going to go and we're going to play on Wild Card Weekend, and we're not going to look back. I think that is the best path to us winning the Super Bowl, is getting humbled against the Dolphins and the Steelers after winning 3 incredible games against 2 of the top teams in the league.
Would you guys rather have the number 1 seed in a bye week or the number 2 seed and no bye week, but you still get home field versus everyone besides number 1?
1 seed, because I'm not going to Kansas City.
But you're going to take the bye week then and have time to lose your whatever.
If we're as good off the bye week as John Harbaugh proves to be, then that's not a problem.
The last time we had the number 1 seed.
You'll have to stop hanging on to the last time we had. The last time we had the number 1 seed, Lamar Jackson was 23 years old. The last time we had the number 1 seed, our offensive coordinator was Greg Roman. This is a completely different team. I know it's scary because we're used to being the underdogs, but we got to just embrace that we're this good, and we have to be ready for anyone who comes into our home. Now, I don't think we get the number 1 seed, but I would much rather have it than any other seed.
All right. Well,
the number 1 seed statistically gets to the Super Bowl higher than any other team.
So I said 13-4. Palmer, what'd you say?
I say we win all, but so I think we're 13. Would that be correct? I think we beat the Rams, beat the Jags, lose to 49ers, win and win.
So you're same as me.
Yeah.
13-4.
12-5.
And Mike's 12-5. All right.
Okay.
And then
let's win out everything. Super Bowl.
Let's do our finish. Let's finish this podcast out with our Week 13 AFC North / primetime picks. Last week, I'm not going to pull the graphic up to save time, but me and Mike tied. I don't even know what the records were, but we both tied. So you're still beating me, Mike, by a couple games.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and get into it. Thursday night football.
Hey, how do Palmer's picks working with this?
Palmer, stop sending me picks.
You don't ask anymore. I'm Mr. Irrelevant.
Well, no. Since I'm winning, if Palmer gets his picks right, I get those picks. And anyone he gets you're losing.
No. All right. First game, Thursday night football tonight. Seattle at Dallas. I'll start it off. I'm going to go Dallas. I think they're going to prime up here for the playoffs.
I go Dallas, and I think Von Miller's going to suit up for the Cowboys tonight to get out of jail.
The Cowboys might have 3 or 4 pick sixes today. I think it'll be that bad. Like, well, how many is it? 5 from that one dude? I think he might get to 7 tonight. I don't think the Seahawks. I don't think the Seahawks, at their best form that they've had this season, could even begin to even dream to compete with the Cowboys.
It would take a miracle for Seattle to win this game.
It would take a lot of Cowboys injuries or really bad reffing to get.
Dak Prescott would have to be under the mafia,
right,
paying him off.
They've got it wrapped. Like
Right.
this.
All right. AFC North, Arizona at Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh's going to win because they're just lucky.
I had a lot of faith in Arizona before they played the Rams last week, and then they got blown out like 36-12. So I don't even think they'll put up 12 against the Steelers. Kyler Murray's the only good player on that entire team now that Zach Ertz is gone. So, or at least on that offense. And the Steelers are like cockroaches. They just won't die. Nothing will kill them. They'll never leave. They're too well coached. They do, believe it or not, have some talent on that offense. They've proved it in flashes this year, and it's only been getting better. They had like 400 yards of offense last week against the trash Bengals. Well, the Cardinals are more trash, so they'll win like 15-7.
Just when you think you've got the Steelers figured out, they're going to shit the bed, and the Arizona Cardinals are going to come in to Pittsburgh Stadium, and they're going to put up 150 yards rushing with James Conner's revival. And Kyler Murray is going to throw it all over the yard.
I would believe the James Conner
I
has
can
a
only
game,
hope.
but I would guarantee the Steelers would get a onside kick that they'd return for a touchdown on the last play of the game to win. That's how incredibly lucky they are. Like the Cardinals could lead for 59 minutes and 59 seconds, and the Steelers would still find a way to win that game.
All right. Well, the next AFC North game you're going to like a lot. It's potentially a familiar face at quarterback. Cleveland at LA Rams with the potential Joe Flacco as the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. December Joe.
I want LA to win. I'm sorry. I can't do it. Can't root for the Browns. I don't care if it's Joe or not. Go Rams. Batter them. What do you cheer for the Rams? Go hit them? I don't know. Hit them.
I legitimately think that EA Sports molded their gameplay after watching Joe Flacco play last year, because it seems like every time he gets touched, he fumbles the ball, just like the quarterbacks in Madden. So even though the Browns are a better team, it's not the same Joe Flacco, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, I guess. And the Rams are just like, I don't know, like they have a defense somewhat, and they can move the ball, while the Browns can't really move the ball. You know, I don't think Joe Flacco is going to come in and fix things miraculously.
You also have Myles Garrett out, I think, right?
Is he out? I
know they said after last week he came out in a sling with he heard a pop in his shoulder. Haven't heard anything else? Because I haven't really paid attention, but
I heard it was not long term.
okay.
They got the bullet with that.
I'm also going to say the Rams. I would love to see Joe Flacco prove me wrong, but I don't see it happening. I think
You say that now, and then when he wins the Super Bowl in January, or February, you're gonna hate yourself.
if there's another team besides the Ravens to win the Super Bowl, I know it's the Browns, but if it's Joe Flacco,
No, get out.
No,
No.
if it's
it's
not
Joe
the Ravens,
Flacco.
if it's
Come
not
on.
the Ravens, it's the Lions. If it's not the Ravens, it's the Lions. Because
The Lions, they're not even going to make the playoffs.
they're okay. Well, I mean, they might not because the Packers might start winning, but
The Lions are frauds.
they're frauds, but I'll still root for them.
All right, next up, Sunday Night Football, primetime, Kansas City at Green Bay.
I actually picked Green Bay.
I mean, the Chiefs.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I'm
Did you
Chiefs.
pick Mike?
Green Bay.
I'm picking KC. I think this is the time of the year that the Chiefs always figure everything out and just start going on their run.
Yeah, they normally do. Not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Not against this team. It'll happen in the grand scheme of things. Like, yes, the Chiefs will go on a run and find a way to be the number 1 seed. I feel like Jordan Love is the best quarterback they've played in a while. And that includes Russell Wilson. I think that the Packers have been getting hot for like the better part of a month and a half. And dude, my cat and I could score against the Raiders if we really wanted to. And scoring against the Raiders in the second half is not proof that you're fixed. You gotta consistently do it. I'm not saying that they won't like be competitive. I think it'll be a really close game, and I think most indications will point to a Chiefs win. But I do think at the end somehow the Packers are going to find a way.
Right.
Packers are
They're
3-1 in their last 4. Okay.
feisty.
Yeah, I think Jordan Love's a legit. I think he's their future quarterback. I don't think they're going to draft another. So
They get at least 1 more year with him. So.
I can definitely see them winning the game, being that it's at home. But like I said, Kansas City always finds a way this time of year. So next game, Monday Night Football, an AFC North matchup, Cincinnati Bengals at Jacksonville. I wish for viewer pleasure that Joe Burrow was playing, but I am happy because Jacksonville is going to smack that ass.
Agreed. Jacksonville's going to win that one.
Jacksonville's going to self-implode like they always do. Like they always do. Against,
I'll take that one, Mike.
It's sad because there's no way the Bengals should win this game. But actually, I think their offense kind of matches up well if they run the ball. If they can get a run game going behind Joe Mixon and they can find their tight ends, which is kind of a hodgepodge of tight ends, it'll keep them competitive. Let's also remember that as good as the Jaguars are, sometimes they just hit a brick wall with their offense and can't do anything. It's kind of a week-to-week thing. It really depends on a lot of circumstances. Yes, this is a week where they should be able to tear it up against the Bengals. Something about the Bengals and the Jags in primetime makes me feel like the Bengals will find a way to win. I don't know.
They're going to have to score more than 10 points like they did versus the Steelers last week. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think that if they were playing anyone else last week, their offense would have looked a little better. I mean, let's be honest. Jake Browning had to go against us and the Steelers. No one's going to.
Jacksonville is no slouch.
No, they're not a slouch, but they're not the Steelers or the Ravens.
Their pass rush is right up there with them, with Josh Allen. He's, I think, a top 3 pass rusher right now.
All right.
I think that wraps up our podcast this week, boys. Anything to add? All right. Well, everybody take some time off. Ravens football is got a little break here before the real action begins. We got 5 weeks of nothing but barn burners each week, it seems like, and then the playoffs. So get your minds right. We got this week to kind of recuperate and refresh ourselves. I think we needed this bye week just as much as the players did.
I was going to ask, because we haven't talked about it, Did you want to hop on Monday and just do a review of the AFC North and maybe the AFC? Since we don't,
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll see what it looks like.
Owners are invited too, of course.
My
Yeah,
parents
we'll
are
see.
coming up to the next day, so I'll be MIA on that one.
I got you.
But yeah, let's go Arizona, go Jacksonville, go Green Bay, because we don't want Kansas City to take over the number 1 seed. Who does Miami play?
Are they on bye too?
They are. Actually, no, they play Washington.
Oh, I actually do not want the Bengals to lose this week because the Jags are on our asses, and there's no way the Bengals are going to claw their way into the playoffs.
That's a good thought.
I would like some breathing room.
That's a good thought. Yeah, so we want,
especially considering that every team that's tied with us has the tiebreaker over us when we're even. Meaning, like before we played our games last week, we were the 4th seed again.
Yeah, the Bengals are pretty much out of it, anyways.
If the Jags, the Dolphins, and the Chiefs went out, we'd be the number 4 seed.
So we want Washington to beat Miami, really, and we want Green Bay to beat Kansas City. Those are the top 2, and then obviously Pittsburgh losing to Arizona would be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's who we should be rooting for. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. Watch some college football. There's some good conference championships going up. Get your L's up in the sky for Lamar. And yeah, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see y'all next week.
Adios, fellas.
Take care.